Apparently, Gacha Smack is underneath some crazy heat. I don't know what he said. There's like hundreds of creators ripping into him online. Let's see if our boy is being a dumbass. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see what's good.
Just pulled up at the gym and I was thinking about it.
Okay.
Man, Oda, the creator of One Piece, bro, like he drops an episode of One Piece every single week, him and his team. And these episodes are about, what, 25 minutes long, and then it's always like 5 minutes of unnecessary catching up, bro, like just yapaholics. But regardless, it's an episode every single week, and they take very few breaks. Like, dude, dead ass. For the past, like, decade, this has just been an ongoing thing. Episode every single week. Regardless of the quality of the dialogue, if you want to do a little bit of critical observation of the dialogue in some of the One Piece episodes, yeah, they do a bunch of unnecessary yapping, but their unnecessary yapping is still peak in terms of gacha dialogue.
Sure.
Now, we take that into consideration, and then we think about gacha games, especially the mainstream ones.
Sure.
These mainstream gacha games, they drop debatably a quarter of one anime episode. And it's in comparison spread out to multiple little short cutscenes, 30 seconds here, 45 seconds there, maybe if you're lucky over a minute there. They take 6 weeks to drop, debatably at max, a quarter of an episode.
Sure.
Yeah, when you think about it in that perspective, it's quite insane, isn't it?
Wait, so why are people upset about this? Why were people being offended by this? Obviously, we all know that gacha creators the gacha developers are incredibly lazy. What were people upset about with this? TLDR, Gacha said something true and Gacha Cooks got upset. No, this is absolutely true. I mean, the reality is that every 6 weeks for games like, and let's just be real, okay? Honkai Star Rail, as well as Genshin Impact, even Wuthering Waves, they will put out fluff stories. Now, I will say the two companies that I think do the storytelling the best are Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero. Zenless Zone Zero probably being at the top with how dynamic the animations are, as well as the amount of skippable dialogue is very much at a minimum. I'd like to quote the Jane Doe story quest was amazing from start to finish. Very dynamic, very fluid. It felt really good. For the gacha dialogue for the majority of games, it's not even animating it. 95% of the story quest, it's just text on a board and static images. All of this can be made in mere moments, and essentially taking a sentence that could be spoken in 8 words and stretching it out to be 100 words is usually the gacha dynamic, right? But I see companies being praised and praised and praised for putting out an 8-hour story quest, when in reality, it's just a bunch of useless, bloated garbage, and then a couple of maybe 4 to 5 minutes of a decent cutscene, and that's about it. I think we should all be universally agreeing that gacha companies can absolutely do better, and they should be condensing down on the dialogue that doesn't need to be there and deliver its communities a more condensed, more coherent, to the point, listening and playing experience rather than watch these characters stand still and talk at you. What do you think? I can't believe people were upset. Well, let me rephrase that. I absolutely can believe people were upset by this, but let's see who was upset by this. All right, our favorite gay dude, Sip Steven, what did he say? Making anime and video game cutscenes are two totally different things. Game devs are overworked and video game crunch is already sadly an industry standard. 6-week update cycle is insanely fast. Be for real. This is so out of touch in my opinion. So the reason why this is cap is because these gacha companies are making more than all of these animes, right? The trailers that they're delivering us are about 1/3 of an anime episode every 6 weeks, whereas other industries will deliver us 6 episodes of animation, right? So episode every week. Yeah, why? Well, I have no idea they're not overworked whatsoever. Like Hoyoverse in general and even Kuro, like they're working hard, sure, but to say they couldn't condense the dialogue, I mean, what Sip Steven needs to realize is that this isn't asking for more work. This is actually asking for less, right? Now, obviously, MAPPA animators are incredibly overworked. The animators of animes are obviously very overworked, especially MAPPA. If you haven't looked into MAPPA animators overworking, absolutely that's the fucking case. That's not every studio, but that is the extreme that people often like to quote. But we're asking for less dialogue bloat and more condensed and coherent story, and then a little bit more on the animation side for the cut scenes. This would actually result in a lesser workspace and more quality-oriented space rather than just bloat it out as much as possible. Is this an update video? Bro thinks total time spent without regard to whether that time was spent quality time or not equals good argument loud brain rot at its finest. Staring at a wall for 2 hours straight equals 6 20-minute anime episodes, guys. Yeah, true. Let's keep going on here. So Brand Online says everyone is entitled to their opinion, but I'll never understand comparing two different media types for this reason. It's not media. It's not. It's storytelling media. One is 3D, one is 2D. They're the exact same. One is just inside of a video game. The other one is a standalone. They're very similar. Why are we comparing a weekly anime to be digested in 25 minutes to a game with updates every 6 weeks to be digested over multiple hours? Well, because it's just two different ways of telling the story. Some are 2D, some are 3D. Right, and I'll be real, Red versus Blue is putting out videos every fucking week made by two people that has more dynamic storytelling than pretty much 90% of gacha games in the current fucking market. Same thing with Dude, Where's My Bike? The old World of Warcraft Machinima parody. It's really not that hard once you understand. So here's the thing. I have been in relationships with animators. I have been friends with animators. I have been in studios with animators. I know many porn animators, right? I know multiple people who can make better stories with more dynamic dialogue by themselves in 6 weeks than an entire company of Hoyoverse. And I mean that genuinely. When you realize, and I'm gonna break down, I'm gonna break this down for you, okay? Let's pull up let's talk about the game everybody loves, Honkai Star Rail. Looking for a cutscene. So this is what they do. They take 4 models. I'm gonna mute Doro. Not that I don't like him. Doro's great. They take 4 models and they press idle pose 1. And this is why they're all standing there just breathing. Okay? Then they have the little layout and they insert dialogue and they put in fade left to right. And then the dialogue comes in. When he crosses his arms, they press a button. Idle pose 2. Okay? And now the rest are just sitting there. Idle pose 2. The lips are not synced. Okay? Talk. This time period, this time period. That's it. They're not synced. The Joe Biden has nothing to do with it. Right? Another NPC talks, they say mouth open, talk equals yes. Dialogue come in left to right, idle pose 3. And then they just remain in idle pose. And that's it. And I want to let you know that dialogue option just took 15 fucking seconds. Yes, talk equals true. It is not hard. It is very low effort work. If you were an animator or worked with animators, you would know how low effort that those type of dialogue options are. Now I want to ask you, how many games are doing dialogue sequences like that? The answer is fucking all of them. They're not making new assets for the cutscenes. They're not for the dialogue options. They're not making new models for these little dialogue sequences. It is literally 4 static NPCs and idle pose number 1. When it's their turn to talk, fade in left to right, put in the string of dialogue, talk equals true, idle pose 2. You can make that cutscene, I shit you not, in 30 minutes. And that's for one worker. And then you realize you have a fucking team. It is really not that fucking hard. Then you realize these teams are making, with no exception, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars every month. Now, if they were hand animating it, that's a different fucking story. Guys, I want to remind you of something else. Hold up. Then they'll make one image. Then they'll make one image, guys. Okay? One image. And they will hold it for 5 minutes uninterrupted. Which means, if this were to be an anime, 1/4 of the episode would be one static fucking image for 1/4 of the episode. You can, listen guys, you can't lie to yourselves. The dialogues and the cutscenes and the trailers were being delivered are low effort. They truly are. Every now and then we get a really nice cutscene, and those are great. But the majority of storytelling in these games are very low effort. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy them, but to villainize people who are asking for more, that's when you become part of the problem. We as consumers should always be asking for more because we are giving them what? What are we giving them? More and more fucking money. So when we give a service provider more and more money, then we should expect more fucking service. You are fine to be content with whatever you are dealt with or whatever you are served. However, to villainize those who are asking for more are just straight up dumb. I don't know much about the game dev. Hold up, let me read this. I don't know much about the game dev. I do. I was also am a part of Mad Mushroom, which is a game developer team. But I do think mobile games are restricted by design due to being a mobile game. Animated cutscene for whole long quests can increase the game size, especially with voice packs in their game already suffer from these issues, even without fully animated quests with even more resource management options. So here's the thing, Jimmy. So what you just said, right? What you just said is the exact opposite of the point I'm saying. What I'm saying is we reduce the dialogue blow. We reduce the amount these characters have to talk about unnecessary drivel, and we focus on important lines and important moments being delivered. When you cut that back, and chat, you let me know when I'm telling lies. The Penacony story quest, that was 8.5 hours. We could have easily removed 6 hours of that bloating and added in 2 to 3 more cutscenes, and it would have been infinitely more enjoyable with less of the data management that you would have to download, with less work that voice actors would have to do, but more work of that the animators would have to do. But we're not asking for anything unreasonable. We're asking for maybe about 15 to 16 minutes of cutscenes every 6 weeks. And it's 3D, which makes it way fucking easier than hand drawing. This is model manipulation, not hand drawing frames. So it is far easier. To all the people who got angry at this video, thanks for the content. True. You know what you said is ass when both the Hoyo fans and Kuro fans stopped fighting to jump you. Hell no. This is the only thing that would unite Hoyo fans and Kuro fans. This shit comparison doesn't even make any sense. The thing is, it does make sense. And this is why I am currently making a career of people saying dumb shit on Twitter. It'll never stop. It'll always continue. And I will always be here to reap the rewards of talking about these dumb fucks who are way too comfortable to talk on an issue they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Leave this to people with experience. Don't argue with your feelings. Argue with logic. These people are so fucking dumb it hurts. And that's a shame because I actually really like Sip Sip Steven. But to say that's a take by Gacha Smack that's bad, well, you're just wrong. And that's not me having the back of my boy because I love Gacha Smack. But if the dude was being a retard, I'd tell you how it is. He's not wrong. He didn't miss. Sorry to tell you this shit, guys. He's spitting and we all fucking know it.